I was scared that I would be the only man sitting here. And I'm so happy to be well accompanied. That's a word we need to strike from the vocabulary, women accompanying peace process. I have listened with great interest, and there's so many nuggets and takeaways. And I've taken very good notes of what I would take away. But then I changed my mind, and then I'm going to just share with you some reflections. Based on errors that I perfected in good faith trying to engender peace processes. And what this network of African women mediators can take from what I will be sharing and adapt them and adjust them as they see fit. And my starting point is sustaining peace, because that's what brought us together. It's not so much about the process as much as the end goal. So I'm going to start with the end goal. What I have learned is that I have not questioned sufficiently enough the assumption underpinning mediation. I bought the assumption that if we address the drivers of violence, we will be able to mediate a solution for sustaining peace. We will have end of conflict, some stability and security that often is interpreted as peace. This model, bringing about an end to violence and moving parties from violence to politics, is under stress these days, to put it charitably, given the changes in the nature of conflict. When there is an outcome to this process and it emerges, it tends to be dictated by competing regional and global interests, anxious to have a peace agreement. I work in a think tank, and that's why I like it, because it enabled me to think as a former doer. And we've been working with a number of scientists. They call them scientists for sustaining peace. They have established that the causes of peace are not addressed simply by removing the causes of conflict or the issues of contention. Ending a war and building peace, while interconnected, are separate processes. These researchers have also established that while states can start wars, states can end them, states alone cannot build sustainable peace. Because those who can agree to stop wars are not necessarily the ones who can imagine or create a just society. They tend to be more concerned about power than governance, more concerned about how they transact interests that they could not always achieve through violence. So as we have heard, peace is essentially like a tree. It grows from the bottom up. It is, as you have heard, all these men and women at the community and grassroots level that tend to be the custodians of peace, even amidst devastation. Therefore, if we want to mediate a solution for sustaining peace, not simply for ending violence, the question we should ask is how to pave the way for those excluded voices to be heard and leverage their expertise, not just as participants in the peace process, but a full partner in designing and leading it. So focusing exclusively on empowering women at the local level perpetuates, and I have done it, perpetuates the distinction between the soft peace building and the hard work of peacemaking, considered to be the sole preserve of track one, invariably led by men. To focus exclusively on women's participation and inclusion in pre-designed processes conflates this distinction and overlooks the hard skills and expertise women can bring as mediators. One of the things that I have learned is that it would be that I should have been wary not to equate women's presence with gender advocacy. That I should have perhaps resisted the temptation to assume that women only represent women and that they do not bring experience and expertise on other issues to the table, and thus seeking their views only on soft social community issues. There is indeed, as you have heard and as we know, a body of literature that underscores the contributions women can make when they participate effectively in mediation processes. And the question that I should have asked myself is that if they are good enough to be at the table, why couldn't they be actively participate in designing it? And if throughout this overall process, it was felt that these women to be fully effective participants or leaders, there are certain competency gaps that needed to be filled or skills to be imparted. Let's ensure that whatever is proposed to address these gaps be motivated by the humility to accept that women are not blank pages, that they do have capacities, not just needs, and that building on what they have and what they know can sustainably unleash their leadership potential for peace. The last point is, while we had a lot of money to do training, and we only think of women at the operational programmatic level, or we think about them as normative militants and supporting 1325, never enough to be, yes, they have also conceptual capacity. But in order to do that, we need some funding for research. And I think this is a point that has been made at least twice. Research, not only to document success stories, best practices, but also to bring data, to develop curricula for school-level education. It's in the minds of young people that we need to change that gender relationship. So these are some thoughts from someone who, early in his career, when I was a former colleague of my good friend, the head of the department at that time of DPA asked me to be the gender focal point. And I've learned a great deal that if we don't move from the issue that women, peace, and security is only a women's issue, we will be stuck. It is a men's issue. It is everyone's issue. And I think that is one lesson that I have learned, that if we do not do this together, there will not be peace, let alone sustainable peace. Thank you.